Sometimes life feels the same every day. You wake up, you work, you sleep. And deep inside, something whispers, there is more. This is a story about Youssef, a quiet man with a quiet dream. He does not want to change the world. He only wants to see it a little more closely. 1 week, one city, one simple journey that might change how he sees everything. Youssef lived in Iran, a city by the sea in Algeria. He worked in a small computer shop. He fixed phones, cleaned keyboards, and helped people with their screens. He was kind, patient, but something inside him felt tired. Every day looked the same. The same street, the same cafe, the same words. At night, Youssef sat alone in his room. He watched videos about travel. People walking in new cities, people learning new languages. He smiled and then turned off the light. One evening, after dinner, Youssef sat with his father on the balcony. The wind was soft. The sky was quiet. He looked down, then said, "Baba, I want to travel. Just 1 week. To Spain." His father didn't speak at first. Then he looked at Youssef and smiled. "Go. See something new. Learn something new. And when you come back, tell me everything." The next morning, Youssef booked a flight to Madrid. He had never traveled alone before. He felt nervous, but ready. He packed light, a camera, a notebook, a clean shirt, and one small book. Before he left, he kissed his mother's hand. She said, "Be careful and enjoy every step." He hugged his father, and they said nothing, but the silence was full of love. Then he went to the airport. The journey had begun.
The airport was big, bright, and busy. Youssef stood near the entrance. People walked fast. Some were smiling. Some looked tired. He held his bag tight. "I can do this," he whispered. He gave his passport to the woman at the counter. She smiled and said, "Where are you going?" "To Madrid," he answered. "Business or holiday?" "Holiday, 1 week." "Enjoy your trip," she said. Youssef smiled. "Thank you." At the security check, he took off his jacket. He put his bag in the tray. His heart was beating fast, but he followed the signs and listened carefully. Everything was new, but step by step, it felt okay. He found his gate. He sat down and opened his notebook. He wrote, "Day 1, airport. Alone, but not afraid." Then he looked out the window. A plane was flying up. It disappeared into the clouds. He closed his eyes and breathed slowly. For the first time in a long time, he felt free. Soon, the speaker called his flight. "Flight 233 to Madrid. Please proceed to gate 4. Youssef stood up. He smiled quietly. It was time.
The plane landed. Youssef looked out of the small window. The sun was shining. The sky was blue. Madrid, it was real now. At the airport, he followed the signs. Exit, baggage, taxi, hotel. He didn't speak much, but he listened carefully. People spoke Spanish, fast, with music in their voices. He smiled. He liked the sound, even if he didn't understand. Outside, the air was warm. The city moved like a song. Cars, people, voices, laughter. Trees danced in the wind. Old buildings stood tall beside new cafes and shops. The taxi driver said, "First time in Madrid?" Youssef nodded. "Yes, first time." The man laughed. "You would love it." The taxi passed big streets and narrow ones. Red flowers on balconies, children playing, People sitting in cafes, drinking coffee slowly. Everything was alive. Not fast, not slow, just present. Youssef arrived at a small hotel. The woman at the front desk gave him a key and a map. "Welcome," she said. "Enjoy your stay." His room was small but clean. A window, a bed, a desk. He put down his bag, washed his face, and opened the window. Birds were singing. A guitar played somewhere far away. He closed his eyes and smiled. Then he took his notebook and wrote, "Day 1, Madrid. Everything is new. Everything is beautiful. I feel like I'm inside a dream, but I'm awake." Youssef left the hotel and walked down the street. He didn't have a plan. He just wanted to look, to listen, to feel. He passed a bakery. The smell of bread filled the air. He passed a bookstore. A man inside was reading. He passed a woman selling flowers. She smiled and waved. He waved back. He didn't need words. The city was speaking to him in color, in the music, and in silence.
Youssef walked slowly through the old street. His eyes moved from window to window. He didn't want to take a picture. He wanted to remember with his heart. On the corner, he saw a small bookstore. The door was open. A little bell rang when someone entered. It was quiet inside, warm, like a secret place. He stepped in. The smell of paper and wood touched his nose. It reminded him of his school in Iran. Safe, calm, familiar. Books were everywhere, on tables, on shelves, some in Spanish, some in English. Youssef walked slowly, looking at the covers. He picked up a small English book. The title said, "Simple Words, Big Ideas." He smiled. It felt like the right book. A voice came from behind him. Soft, clear. "Looking for something special?" He turned around. A young woman stood there, wearing a blue sweater and holding a stack of books. Youssef hesitated. His English was not strong, but he answered, "Maybe. I want something easy. I am learning English." She smiled. Not a fake smile, a real one. Warm, patient. "You chose a good one," she said, pointing to the book in his hands. "It's simple, but smart." He nodded. "Yes, that's what I need." She looked at him for a second, then asked, "First time in Madrid?" "Yes," he said. "Only one day here. I want to see, to walk, and to learn." The girl paused and said something unexpected. "Well, if you want, I can show you a place. A quiet place. Good for thinking." Youssef didn't know what to say. His heart beat a little faster. He looked at the book in his hands, then at her eyes. "Okay," he said. And just like that, a journey that began with a flight was now moving in a different direction. Not on a map, but inside him.
Day 2. The sun was soft, the sky light blue. Youssef walked beside Clara through a quiet street in Madrid. They didn't talk much at first, only the sound of shoes on the sidewalk and the city breathing in the background. Clara pointed ahead. "There," she said, "that's my favorite place." It was a small garden, hidden between two old buildings, a fountain in the middle, benches, trees, a cat sleeping in the sun. They sat on a bench near the fountain. A few yellow leaves danced in the wind. Youssef looked around. "It's beautiful," he said. Clara smiled. I come here when I feel lost. Lost? He asked. She nodded. Yes, lost in my mind. Too many thoughts. He looked at her. I feel that too. Sometimes my head is full, but my heart is quiet. There was a pause. The fountain was still singing. Then Clara asked, "Why are you learning English?" Youssef thought. He looked at the ground, then said, "Because I want to speak with the world, not just watch it." She nodded slowly. "I like that," she said. He asked, "And you?" She said, "I learn languages. I like to understand people, not just words, but their feelings too." Youssef smiled. She wasn't just kind, she was curious, like him. Then Clara said something he didn't expect. "You speak well, Youssef, better than you think." He looked at her with surprise. "Really?" "Yes," she said. "You just need time and maybe some confidence." Youssef laughed quietly. "Confidence is not easy." "No," she agreed. "But it grows like a seed if you water it." They sat in silence again. A calm, comfortable silence. The kind that doesn't need to be filled. Youssef opened his notebook. He wrote, "Day 2, garden. My English is not perfect, but today it was enough." Youssef woke up early. He opened the window. The air smelled like morning bread and oranges. He smiled. This time, not because the city was beautiful, but because he felt ready. At 10 a.m., his phone buzzed. A message from Clara. "I'm going to a small museum today. Would you like to join me?" Youssef looked at the screen for a moment. He felt something warm in his chest. He typed back, "Yes, I would like that." They met near a metro station. Clara wore a green scarf. Youssef had his notebook in his bag. "You look more confident today," Clara said. He laughed. "Maybe, a little." They walked down the street. Clara pointed at signs, trees, posters. "This is how I learn," she said. "I read the world like a book." Youssef liked that. To read the world. Maybe he could do that too. The museum was quiet. Not big, not famous, but full of stories. Old shoes from the 1800s, letters from travelers, photos of people walking, sitting, smiling, just like now, but in black and white. In front of a painting, Clara said, "Look at this one." "What do you see?" Youssef looked. It was a man standing near a train station, alone. He had one bag and big eyes, full of questions. "I see myself," Youssef said. Claire turned to him, her voice softer now. "I see someone brave." He didn't answer, but something in him changed. Later, they sat in a small cafe. 2 coffees, 1 notebook on the table. Youssef said, "I never thought I could talk like this in English. You don't need perfect words, you need real ones, and you have them." Then something strange happened. She looked at her watch and said, "Oh, I forgot. I have to meet someone now. I'm sorry." Youssef felt something drop in his stomach. He nodded. "No problem." She stood up quickly. "Can we meet again tomorrow?" He smiled. "Yes, of course." She waved and walked away. Youssef stayed at the table, alone, but not lonely. He opened his notebook and wrote, "Day 3, mirror. I am not the same Youssef I was. Maybe I never was." Day 4. Youssef woke up slowly. No alarm, no plan, just quiet. He sat on the edge of the bed. looked at his hands, and whispered, "Who am I becoming?" He didn't meet Clara that day. She had class. He didn't mind. Some part of him wanted to be alone, to walk, to think, to breathe. He went to a park near the hotel. Children played, old men fed birds. A street artist played the violin. Youssef sat on a bench under a tree. He listened, not just with his ears, but with all of him. He opened his notebook, but he didn't write. Not yet. He watched a little girl laugh. He saw a dog chasing butterflies. He heard Spanish words, soft and fast. He didn't understand everything, but he felt connected, like a puzzle piece finding its place. Then his phone buzzed. A message from his father. "How are you? Everything okay? Don't forget your interview next Monday." Youssef stared at the screen. Interview. Monday. Back to Algeria. Back to the plan. He closed his eyes. The sounds around him faded for a second. The park, the birds, the violin. Everything paused. He thought, what if I don't want the same plan anymore? What if Madrid is not just a place, but a mirror, a question? He looked up. The sky was full of soft clouds, moving slowly, like time. He finally opened his notebook and wrote, Day 4. Space. Between the old me and the new me, there is silence, and in that silence, I am listening. Then he closed his notebook, he stood up, and he started walking without a map, as if his heart knew the way. Day 5. The weather was cloudy. No sun, no wind, just gray. Youssef walked through the city with his hands in his pockets. Today, he didn't feel light. Something heavy was sitting in his chest. He stopped at a small cafe. Same street, same chair, but something was different. He ordered tea. The waiters smiled and spoke in fast Spanish. Youssef didn't understand. He just nodded. The tea came. It was too hot. At the next table, 2 men were speaking Arabic. From Morocco, maybe, or Tunisia. One of them laughed and said, "You see those tourists? They think they can live here, but soon they all go back." Youssef froze. He wasn't sure why, but those words cut deep. He looked down at his hands. The same hands, same skin, but he didn't feel like them, or like Madrid. Not fully. I'm in between, he thought. Not here, not there. Not enough for both. He stood up, left a coin, and walked out fast. The streets felt colder now. He walked until he found a wall with street art. It showed a man standing in 2 shadows, one dark, one bright. Youssef stood in front of it for a long time. Then he whispered to himself, "Maybe they're both mine." Later that night, Clara sent him a message. "I have something to show you tomorrow. It's personal, important. Come if you want." Youssef didn't answer right away. He stared at the screen, at his notebook, at the wall in his memory. He finally wrote, Day 5. Shadow. Today, I met an old voice in a new place, and it asked me, "Are you real or are you running?"
Then he opened Clara's message again. He typed one word, okay. He didn't know what she would show him, but something inside him said, go. It was the next day, day 6. The sky was soft gray. The air was cool. Youssef waited near a small bakery. At 10 o'clock, Clara arrived. "Ready?" she asked. Youssef smiled, a little nervous. She laughed.
Good. That means it's real. They walked for 10 minutes. Quiet streets, old houses, a cat sleeping on a window. Finally, they stopped in front of a small blue door. Clara took a deep breath. This is my father's house. The door opened. An older man stood there, tall, calm, with gray hair and strong eyes. Clara said, "Papa, this is Youssef, my friend." The man looked at him for a second, then smiled. "Welcome. Come in." The house was warm. Books everywhere. A guitar on the wall. The smell of tea and bread. They sat in the living room. Clara went to the kitchen. The father poured tea and spoke slowly. "First time in Spain?" "Yes," Youssef said. "You like it?" "Very much." He smiled again. "Good." Then Clara came back. She was carrying a small photo. She sat beside Youssef and showed it to him. It was an old photo of a young woman. "She was my mother," Clara said. "She died when I was 10. Youssef didn't know what to say. He just looked at the picture. The woman had kind eyes. Clara whispered, "You remind me of her, not in the face, but in the way you look at the world." Later, the father spoke to Youssef alone. He said, "She doesn't bring many people here. She sees something in you. Don't be afraid of that." Youssef said nothing, but his chest felt heavy and full. At the door, before leaving, Clara looked at him and said, "Thank you for coming." Youssef answered, "Thank you for trusting me." Then she said one soft word in Spanish, "Gracias." That night, in his hotel room, Youssef opened his notebook. He wrote, Day 6, the door. Today, a door opened, not only in a house, but in me. Youssef woke up early. The sky was blue, very blue, but his chest felt heavy. It was his last day in Madrid. He sat near the window, watching the light on the buildings. He opened his notebook, but didn't write. His phone rang. It was a call from Algeria. His cousin. "Youssef, I have news. There's a job for you. Good money in Algiers. You start in 3 days, if you want it." Youssef was quiet. He looked at his suitcase, still closed. He said, "Thanks. I'll call you tonight." He put the phone down. Then a message came. "Clara, I'm free this afternoon. Want to meet one last time?" He replied, "Yes, I'd like that." They met in Parque del Oeste, a quiet park full of trees and old statues. They walked side by side, slowly, no rush. Clara looked at him and asked, "So, are you going back?" Youssef said, "I think so. Maybe. I don't know." She smiled, but her eyes were soft. "Madrid will miss you. I will too." They sat on a bench. A guitar player was playing in the distance. Clara spoke first. "You know, people always think they have to choose quickly, but sometimes waiting is also a choice." Youssef looked at the trees. He said, "Back home I always had answers. Here I only have questions." She looked at him. "Maybe that's why you needed to come." They didn't speak for a while. Then Clara said, "If you go, don't forget what you found here." He looked at her. "What did I find?" She pointed to his notebook. "Yourself." Later, they stood at the metro station. She gave him a small envelope. "Open it later, not now." He nodded. She hugged him, a short hug, but full of warmth. Then the train came. She waved, he waved back, and she was gone. That night, in the airport, Youssef sat alone.
He opened the envelope. Inside was a small paper. It said, "Don't run. Walk forward. And if you ever come back, I'll be here." He smiled, looked at the gate, then looked at the notebook, and wrote, "Day 7, the choice. Some journeys end at the airport. Others, they begin there." The end.
Did you enjoy the story? Did you learn something new in English? Then please like, subscribe, and join me for the next journey.